even seen it yet. I'm like, come on. No, but we put a lot of work into this, and this is great. It makes it nice. Huh? Use the mic? Really? Yeah. They ask you to use a mic? Dude. You guys are really asking for trouble. What? Oh, we are practicing our live stream. The video team is over here with an impressive array of cables snaked and spidered all around. Looks impressive. I don't know if it works, but that's why they're doing it. So I think they want me to use the mic so the whole package comes together here, and we'll try to find out if we can actually get a nice live stream up for the conference, which is coming up in just a month or less, on October 21st, the big debate, and Mythicon 3, which we will live stream to the world for what, gentlemen? $9.99. You can watch it live if you can't be here and you can't make it. I know some of you are from places as far removed as Champaign, Illinois. You might not be able to make it up here for the debate, so you can stream it for $9.99.
Plus tax.
Is there tax on that, on something like that? Would you pay tax on a YouTube stream? Sean, would you know? I have no idea.
I don't think so. Yeah.
If you do, it's only a few cents.
Right, but the debate's not going to be available like for a couple months on YouTube,
Right.
so you can watch it up to then, or if you
miss
want to watch
yeah.
it for free, you can have to wait.
If you miss it, you'll have to wait until it's released, like a Netflix thing. You have to
Yes.
wait your months for it to come out.
Right.
But
It's like the second run theater.
we are Mythicist Milwaukee. We run the Milwaukee Atheist, Skeptics, and Humanists page. And Mythicist Milwaukee is what we do. Brian's got it written right here. From an evidence-based perspective, we study the history of religions, cultures, and other secular topics. And we want to point out strenuously that we are not just a group, especially on this Tuesday night discussion group, is not just a group for atheists. This discussion group is not just for atheists anymore. We welcome free thinkers of all sorts. If you're open to free inquiry, this is the place for you. We do have believers here. We do have spiritualists of different degrees. We have agnostics, we have atheists, we have people who identify as humanists, rationalists, whatever your bent is and whatever your reason for wanting to come and discuss these topics, then you are welcome. And all we ask is that you keep an open mind and don't beat anyone down from their own free inquiry.
I think you're at first button.
Yeah, I talked for so long. I went to read for me. And again, that's a place for anyone who values.
My computer has the same ADD that I do.
Right. If you're not on this list, we'll get you on there. Brian says it might not be quite up to date, but thank you all for those who pay the membership. It's very affordable, $8 a month, $75 a year. You can go to mythicistmilwaukee.com and join, help us do what we do, and keep bringing you all the incredible content. All you got to do is go to the internet and look at the stuff we've been able to do over the past few years. And the stuff we continue to do. It does cost money, this space alone. It costs a few bucks to rent and keep it running and all this great internet stuff we have. So do consider supporting us in that way. Some of the things we do, we work with a great young director named Joseph K. Richards at King's Tower Productions, and he is producing the Batman and Jesus movie, which will be coming out in 2017. He produces a satirical video series called Holy Shit, and we're in league with him on that satirical series of videos that you can find on YouTube, on Atheist TV and other sources. A lot of great acting, some people you might know in it, some personalities from the movement, and some celebrities that we've been able to meet as well. And that's an ongoing series. We'll be filming a Christmas one soon called A Very Holy Shitness, is what that one is going to be called. So that's going. Batman and Jesus, I mentioned, this is a really, really interesting concept where we compare a new mythology such as Batman to an old mythology such as Jesus, and discover the ways that Jesus might have started just like Batman did, as a secondary comic strip that ended up being spun 5 different ways into different carnations of styles and generations across the years, and how he changed from his original form. And the same thing very well could have happened with Jesus, and probably did. So look for that next year. The podcast that Brian again does with me has been going on for a year. We have hundreds of shows now. Every week we do it. Fantastic guests from around the secular world. Myth and Information Conference. This is the first one we did. This is the second one we did. Brought Killer Priest and Mandy Thomas in to speak, among others. The media that we've gotten over the years. Awesome. Brian, thank you. The Buzz Belief series is the big one that's coming, is October 21st. Robert Price and Bart Ehrman going to debate the historicity of Jesus itself, himself, and that is part of MythCon 3, so we've kind of combined the Myth Information Conference, which will have 4 speakers in the afternoon, culminating in the big heavyweight championship of theological debates at the end of the evening. And there they are, the speakers, some handsome people in there, and me too. Bart Ehrman at the top, of course, is probably the most well-known, one of the best well-known New Testament scholars. He's going to be arguing for the historical Jesus. Robert Price up there on the upper left against, and the rest of us fine folk. We know Dan Barker from FFRF going to be speaking. This is at Turner Hall, a lot of fun. If you've never been down there, it's cool. He'll be tickling the ivories and doing some song and dance as well as speaking. So. And Matt Dillahunty, thank you for reminding me. Matt Dillahunty is going to be moderating, so that's like an extra special bonus to have that going on. If you know who he is, quite a personality. Nice. Sundays at 3, we also meet here if you want to be more involved in what we do, part of the planning, part of the projects. Bring your ideas, bring your thinking cap, and Sundays at 3 after the podcast right here is where that happens. So feel free to do that. It's not as lighthearted and fun as this one, but it is where we plan the future of the local movement. I already mentioned the memberships. You can also pledge on Patreon to help us out with the podcast per episode, per week, however you want to do it. And is that the last one, Brian?
Yep.
Great job, man. Thanks for putting that together. Amazing job. Tonight, all the way from the cornfields in central Illinois, home of the, what's the name of the damn, was it University of Illinois? They have a school there?
Oh!
From Champaign. We have a very special guest tonight. He's come all the way up just for us. He is Phil Financial Ferguson. Please give him a warm welcome and do your thing, Phil.
Can someone put my video back in when you get a chance?
No, we haven't.
I'll just stall. How y'all doing?
Really good.
Woo. I came to this mall and I described it as post-apocalyptic mall.
Yeah.
So, very interesting. And yay, it worked. That's fantastic.
You didn't have to do 2 minutes of stand-up.
Yeah, not yet. Hopefully I'll have some in here. If I can make my own magical controller work. I wanted to give you a little background about me. I've been involved in the secular movement for about 10, 11 years. And sorry, video people, I move. So I'll go as far as my cord lets me. I'm going to try to zoom in, zoom out. Okay. Spent about 5 years on the board for the Secular Student Alliance. I've also been on the board of directors for Atheist Alliance International. And I'm currently just about to end my job as treasurer for the board for the Reason Rally. So I've been doing things for a long time, very involved. And a lot of times I do talks that involve atheism, secularism, and kids. My most well-known talk is called Breaking the Cycle, How to Help Kids Out of Religion. And the first time I proposed the talk at a big conference, they're like, we can't do that. That's what religions do. And I said, yeah, I know. They're kicking our ass. So we need to reach the kids. A recent study just came out that said something like 60% of people that leave religion do it before the age of 30. I want to go all the way down to 10, 15, 12, 8. So that's part of me. My podcast is the cleverly titled Phil Ferguson Show, because I'm like a naming savant. Come up with these really clever titles. Matter of fact, I didn't even come up with the title. A friend of mine did. And he said, you should call it the Phil Ferguson Show. I thought about it. There's this long silence. He goes, you don't like it? I go, no, I like it too much. I'm concerned. When I like something too much, I'm skeptical, so I have to stop and think, it sounds too good to be true. And he says, just like Dave Ramsey. And I go, oh, God, no. Not like Dave Ramsey. Matter of fact, one of my most popular episodes, I talked about Dave Ramsey. My show is 1/3 finance, 2/3 atheism. Number 1 in this category. Keep playing along, I appreciate it. I might tell jokes, they might not be funny, but that's all right. This is my business, and I am proud to say that I am a sponsor for the upcoming debate. So, my business gives 10% of gross revenue to the secular movement. This year I'm only at like 8 conferences. Last year I went to 14. Almost all of them I was a sponsor, almost all of them I was a speaker, and I decided 14 was too many. So, trying to trim down a little bit this year. So we'll see how that goes. That's my business, that's how I pay the bills. And right now I'm actually doing a fund drive for American Atheists. So if you go to americanatheist.org/Phil, because again, naming savant thing, as soon as my listeners donate $1,500, I'm gonna match it. So it's a double match. So people often ask me, do I have a Patreon account or something to donate to my show? No, I collect money for other organizations. So a little bit about me. And we're going to see if this all works today. We're going to talk about how to beat your children. Like a good Christian. So, this all comes from my show, my podcast. One of my listeners, about 6-9 months ago, contacted me, and she had gotten a letter. And you can all read this. There, that's good. Okay. I just wanted to show you that I have the letter. Oh, and it's funny because you'll notice, this is important to the story later. On there, it says, The Phil Ferguson Show. Foreshadowing, just remember that, okay? It's going to be important. This is the only real blow-up I'm going to show you. But she got this letter because she bought a house that used to be owned by a family that was fundamentalist Christian. And apparently they used to buy products from this guy. And he sells specialized Christian products. And now he's selling, so it says, I'm contacting you as a former customer of Child Training Resources. This whole business is how to train up your child. I don't know if you guys have heard of that book. We closed in 2006 because of external pressure and family reasons. But after 10 years of requests, we decided to start selling chastising instruments. All right, sounds pretty good. But it's only on a private basis. So she got this letter and sent it to me. And we talked about it, we looked at it, and here's the size. It's the Blue Spanker, right? Sexy name. I get 9 inches long, 1.5 inches wide, 3 inches, 3/16 of an inch thick. And it's really important that you know it's virtually indestructible. Because if you're going to beat your child, you want to make sure it doesn't break, because that's important. Virtually indestructible, fits in your purse, backpack, or diaper bag. So it's got all the factors you'd want in a chastising instrument. $8 a piece for a little bit of plastic. It's basically a plastic ruler. So you're going to pay $8 plus shipping. I did find out if you buy more than 5, there was a shipping discount. So it's all good. Here it is. It's the Blue Spanker. And then we saw this in the letter. Do not post anything about it on the internet. When I saw this, I was so pissed because I just lost my fucking free will. What am I supposed to do? I now have to put it on the internet. I'm compelled. What is it, the Streisand effect? Is that, take everything bad about me down. Don't put it on the internet. Well, okay, so now I did a whole podcast about it, talked about it, read the letter. We're going to go over some of the things in the letter, and then I'm going to tell you about what happened after it got to be more and more public. He did quote this part of the Bible, which I thought was an interesting choice. And ye fathers, provoke not your children to wrath. Okay. How can I piss off a kid? Oh, I know. Let me beat them. Oh, wait. It says not to provoke your children to wrath. This is his justification for spanking, hitting, beating your child. And then it goes on. But bring them up in the nurture. Okay, no, nothing about hitting, nurturing. And admonition of the Lord. So I thought maybe he didn't look up the words. They're big words. I mean, there's multiple syllables. So I did it. Nurture, training, upbringing, something that nourishes, like food. That's not hitting. That's not beating. Admonition. Gentle or friendly reproof. This is neither gentle nor friendly. Counsel or warning against fault or oversight. This is his verse that he uses to support his philosophy that beating your child is a good thing to do. That's what God wants. So I love when I can use the Bible against someone who believes in the Bible. And this is his citation for this. So I would like to think there's something better he could have used, but this is what he chose. The letter also had lots of basic tips on how to properly chastise your child. And of course, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. So we've got some rules. Never chastise in anger. Spanking a child in anger would be abuse. Because when you're happy about it, it's not abusive. See? So you got an out. It's best not to use your hand. Why? Because your hand should not be associated with your child's fear. So he's acknowledging that the child will have fear, but it's going to be fear of the blue spanker. It's not going to be fear of your hand, so it's all okay. But of course, they have to admit that it causes fear, but it's not your hand, so it's okay. So, it's important to have these rules. Carry out chastisement for rebellion, active or passive. What is passive rebellion? It is like sitting quietly, not answering your parents. Is that what it is? So you as the parent, if you think they're rebelling actively or passively, you get to hit them. Because they shouldn't be doing that. The child must make eye contact with you while you are spanking them. It's the rules. Of course, you have to carry it out immediately. And now it adds disobedience or rebellion. So that's pretty wide swath. A lot of things kids do. Could be either one. Don't allow squirming or screaming. Treat this as a separate offense. It's like 2 for flinching. Right? I'll give you something to cry about. You're going to cry because I'm spanking you? That's another offense. I'm going to spank you some more. You got to take it with a smile on your face. Give enough strokes to obtain respectful obedience and a submitted will. Some would argue that's what Christianity is all about. A submitted will. Rely not on your own understanding. Obey your parents no matter what they tell you. Give lots of love and affection afterwards, because that makes it all okay. Child's apology, again with eye contact. Have the child pray, because that'll help. And remember, the rod cannot save the child. Only the gospel of Jesus Christ can do that. So we got to keep our powers straight. You're just going to get them to behave and to submit their will. It's not going to actually save them. You still need Jesus for that. So this is the letter that I got. This is the letter that said, do not share on the internet. So I did. It was picked up by the Friendly Atheist. And then it was picked up by Raw Story. And of course, my podcast that had this on there exploded and had way more views than my normal podcasts. Here's another ad for a similar product, The Rod. I don't know if we had it in there that at some point they did have a smaller stick for younger kids. And of course, a smaller stick would have less air resistance, so maybe it goes a little faster. I don't know how that physics works out. You guys ever heard of Michael and Debbie Pearl? We're going to try the audio here. So this is where it could get dicey. And we'll see how this works. It's a video. It's always dangerous with a video on PowerPoint. It's a poor quality audio and poor quality video, and it's very choppy. It's been edited. But this is a couple that goes around the country giving lectures to parents, rooms full of 500 people, on how to beat your child. So I think you'll want to see it. See if this works. Fingers crossed. One more.
The mother needs to understand if she takes away her husband's authority, even by a face, even by making a pitiful look, appeal to her husband, she is taking away all authority from that child's life. If that child is going to have authority, mother, you got to let that man be the authority.
All right, we're back for question and answer time. I've got my little lady. This is my first wife I brought with me tonight. Does it look like a man's writing or a woman's?
Man's.
Man's? Tell your wife to slap you. She looked up and saw that camera. She got up and dusted herself off. Look at her. She turned red in the face. We just stood there and ridiculed her. They have to really turn red in the face and pass out or something. We had a kid there in church who kept coming and had these black spots all over his head. Just kept You use it to control people. When it stops controlling people, they stop doing it. What's the next question? Punish him with the rod severely. That's what you do to screamers around here. And if you have fun, it'll be a lot easier training. Feel like a winner. You get 5 licks for being mean. You get 5 more for lying. You're going to see who's lying. I'm going to get this rod. If he screams too hard with the first 5, gets hysterical, wait. You know, a little psychological terror is sometimes more effective than the pain. Thumping him on the head, you're worried about that? Give me another question. We talked about that. Carry him home and train him. Give me another one.
How do you handle a father who will not take his part in discipline? When he does discipline, it's out of anger.
Make love to him. If your husband is an angry man, make love. Get rid of his frustration. Make him happy. All right, another question. Sweetie pie.
When using the rod as a training tool, how hard should the reinforcement be?
What? Another guy wrote me, he had 2 kids, 12 and 13 years old, that were fussing and fighting. He made them hold hands and run across the street to the other side, touch the house on the other side and come back. They got outside and hid in the bushes holding hands. Now that might not be too strange in San Francisco, but that'd be real weird where they live. Because it's the man who determines the course of the house. So I give him 5 more, so now get up. Still got a bad attitude, get up. I'm going to say, you're still crying, I'm going to give you something to cry about. You may have quit drinking, you may have quit fornicating, but I know a lot of Muslims that have quit all of that. The prison is full of black Muslims that quit eating meat, quit smoking, quit drinking, and quit fornicating. And all they do now is gang up in gangs and kill white people.
What? Oh, yeah, they're all kinds of crazy. So you may have noticed the thing, he says, have fun with it. It's better when you're disciplining if you're having fun, because that's important. And they stress the idea that this guy had in the letter about you want to make sure that if they squirm or cry, you give them some more licks, because then they learn not to cry about it. And I had, you guys ever heard how to blanket train a child? Blanket train. Okay. So this is one of the things in the book, How to Train Up a Child, and there's multiple books that you can get about how to train your child. It's all about the training and submissiveness. And so what you do is you take a blanket and you lay it on the floor, and then you take one of these and you put it on the blanket, right? And when it crawls off the edge, you get out your blue spanker. And like the shampoo commercial, lather, rinse, repeat. So every time the child crawls off the edge of the blanket, you smack them. And the child will learn out that you're a fucking sociopath and stay on the blanket. And the reason for this in their minds is that once you've trained the child to stay on the blanket, you can leave the room, you can even go to the store and come back, and the child will be safe because they won't leave the blanket, because they've associated leaving the edge of that blanket with a whooping. So that's how you blanket train a child. So you learned so much today. When I was getting ready to do my show about that letter, one of the things that I did was I called the guy, Steve Haymond. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't getting punked or hoaxed or whatever, and the guy actually was selling these sticks. And he confirmed his name, his address, his email, phone number. Said send him a check. Now, I made the mistake of calling from my own phone. I made the mistake of using my actual name. And remember when I told you early on, when this thing went on the internet and those letters went up on Friendly Atheist and Raw's story. They said the Phil Ferguson show on it. Well, after it all exploded, Steve Haymond called me back. So I woke up a couple days after it was on Raw's story, and I had a voicemail from Steve Haymond. And I'm looking at my phone, and I'm thinking, oh my, what's going to happen? And my wife wondered, she goes, is he going to sue you? And I thought, well, if he doesn't want this on the internet, suing me might be a bad strategy, because I'll play for a while and make it really a big story. So I saved his voicemail. I'm going to play it for you. And I want you to hear it, so hopefully this is loud enough. And it's one of those things, again, my wife said, can you play it? Can you put this on your show? Is this legal? And I said, well, when someone leaves a voicemail, I think by definition, you know your voice is being recorded. So I'm going to go with that he voluntarily left me the message. And we're going to see if I can make this work. Hang on.
Hi, Phil. This is Steve Haymond, and you had called a few days ago about purchasing a chasing instrument, and I found out today that there are that my name and these instruments have been put on the internet.
Oh, no. How'd that happen? Oh, gosh. Okay, so he's figured it out, so he calls me.
So I'm just letting you know I'm not going to be selling these. It's not in the interest of my family, and I'm just going to shut this whole idea down. And so we won't be selling any of these. And so if you have already sent your order, I will just send it back refused. So sorry about that. So anyway, I just wanted to let you know. Thank you, Bill. Or was it Phil or Bill? Anyway, thank you, and have a great day. Bye-bye.
So he called me to apologize that he can't ship me the order that I was going to place, and apparently didn't connect that Phil Ferguson called and that my name was on the images that say the Phil Ferguson show. Like Republicans talk about women and rape, he's going to shut the whole thing down. So he's no longer selling the Blue Spanker. So that's my little success in the world. Woo! And so that's basically the story. Again, my podcast is the cleverly titled Phil Ferguson Show, and if you want, I can answer questions about my secular activities. I can talk more about this, or if you have questions about investing, that's my other fun favorite thing to do. Oh, look, who's that? We've seen him before. Go. Yeah, he's looking hungry.
Yeah, if he comes back, check out his abs. Are those suggestive or what? I mean, I'm just saying. Hang on. I think he comes back. No, maybe not. I have to wait 3 days. Or is it a day and a half? Well, there he is. Check out his abs. I'm saying, serious, really? Okay, any questions? Anybody?
I would think that the blanket training thing has got to be the most, probably the damaging of all. I mean, I think at some point, I was spanked as a child. I don't know if that was goofy or not, but it seems like, but to do it to a baby or a younger, that's got to screw things up.
Yeah, and the thing is that the guy who did that video, it's not just the one-off. I mean, the spanking is your go-to solution. It's not sit on the couch. It's not. Yeah. My daughter, when she would get in trouble, we sent her to a room. I mean, she wouldn't speak this way, but I kind of envisioned if she was a little older, like, that's fine, bitches. I'm going to my room, and I don't have to deal with any of you fuckers. That's cool. And she'd go in her room and play. And it wasn't a punishment. She didn't care. So what we devised for her is she had to stand in the room where everybody was at with her nose against the wall. So she could hear all of what's going on, but she couldn't participate. And that drove her nuts. So every kid is different, but the idea that your go-to is spanking.
Well, and that submission is the goal as opposed to a return to normalcy.
Right. Submission, they must do what you have to say. We had weird things with our kids where we would explain to them that if we're yelling at you to get out of the street, there's probably a reason we're excited and you need to do what we're saying right away. But as soon as you do what we tell you, if you want to come up and say, why did I have to do that? We can have that conversation. And I had other parents be like, you allow your kids to question what you ask them to do? We go, why not? What's the real problem with that? Just a side story, the other rule we had for our kids was the no narc rule. If one of our kids came and told us that
like, my kids are Andrew and Heather. If Andrew came and said Heather stole a cookie from the cookie jar, Andrew would get the punishment for taking the cookie. Because he ratted out his sister. And so we never had, as our kids were growing up, they never came to us and said, he did this and she did that, because they would get the punishment. And friends would tell us, well, then they're just going to work together. Yeah, that was the point. They're going to know each other longer than they're going to know me. My greatest hope is that I die before they do, and they're going to know each other longer. I want them to work together. So now they are 21 and 20, and they're tight. And they know from a lifelong experience, they can always count on having each other's back. Even as little kids, they learn to have each other's back, not to rat each other out. Sorry, little aside there. Yes, ma'am.
Maybe I missed it, but who are the parents that go and listen to those speakers?
Normally it's going to be fundamentalist evangelical Christians. Non-denominational also is going to be quite popular. Southern Baptist, and into the more extreme groups that maybe do this snake handling, speaking in tongues. They're also going to be the ones that literal Bible-believing Christians that think that if you spare the rod, you spoil the child. So you have an obligation as given by God to actually hit the child. That's how it works.
Isn't that illegal?
Depends on the state, the locality, and exactly what you do. So I don't know the laws, but I think it can become illegal pretty easily if you get too carried away. Yes, sir.
I'm wondering, the blanket training, I know that you use the blanket to potty train a dog. So what came from what first? Was it the child training or the dog training?
Yeah, I don't think they thought it that far out, because I had a dog for a couple of weeks, which is another long story. But people that I know that own dogs, you don't beat your dog, right?
You'll go to jail.
Yeah, I mean, you don't, if you want your dog to do something, cat will forget about it. But if you want your dog to do something, you don't beat them. They're going to turn on you. And if a child gets beat their whole lives, a couple of things often happens. They turn against their parents when they get older, or they end up beating people when they grow up. Because, it's like the saying, if you rely on prayer to solve problems, you lack the ability to solve problems. If you rely on brute force and hitting to solve problems, that's how you try to solve your problems. And so it creates this disability, almost a mental disability, that you try to fix things the wrong way, and it leads to problems. And that's, kind of why I think I'm so against religion, because I don't think it helps, but that's a whole other topic.
Did it extend to like the same kind of discipline for your wife? I don't know if anyone else saw, like her smile seemed far too unctuous for me. Like, it just seemed like at any moment, like she didn't want the hammer
Well,
coming down on
I
her.
definitely think that the woman is supposed to be compliant. She is supposed to submit to the man, just like a child. They probably wouldn't be too opposed if she got a few smacks every once in a while to keep her in line. There is I can't remember the Bible verse off the top of my head, but it is basically that you have this connection where there's God, there's Jesus, there's men, and then it's either children or women are next. I can't remember where exactly. Maybe the boys after they get 13 are above the women again, but the women and the children have to be subservient to the man. So I would not be surprised if some of the groups, I don't think it's very common, but where that would not be a problem. I know I did have on my show a couple ladies that left Jehovah's Witness cult church in their 50s, and the one had a marriage where she was sitting on the couch one time, and her husband came and sat next to her, and he used to beat her all the time, and he sat down next to her with a big knife and said that if she didn't behave, that one night when she was sleeping, he was just going to cut her in pieces. And she said that she saw this as a potential sign of intimidation. And the people that heard that were like, potential. I mean, I'm jumping out the window. I'm not thinking, what does he really mean? I don't care. But she had suffered so much over so long that she wasn't quite sure how to interpret him sitting there with a knife, fidgeting with a knife, saying he might cut her up. How serious should I take this? Because she was in that warped environment. Anyway, other questions? Yes, sir.
So is this an argument against corporal punishment, or is it an argument against corporal punishment based on the fact that it's being directed from the Bible?
I'll go with
Is
yes.
this a cultural?
Yeah, it's one of those things, I don't see a lot of value in force as being an option to most solutions. So I'm not a real big fan of corporal punishment. I guess if a parent on a rare occasion spanks a child on the leg or the buttock with their hand, I'm not going to flip out too much. But if you're buying a virtually indestructible stick to do it, I think there's an inherent problem there. And the idea that the guy promotes it, that's indestructible, virtually indestructible. I would think if you're going to hit a child, like the olden days with a switch off a tree or something, if it had a chance of breaking eventually, it wasn't modern plastics. I'm going to use a steel space-age titanium rod to make sure it never breaks. Where's the limit? So, yeah, I'm not for corporal punishment in a general sense, but I'm specifically against it in a religious sense. I think that answered that question. Yes, sir.
Have you ever encountered whooping sticks being sold for reasons other than religion or Christianity?
No.
Did you look?
No, not particularly. No, but I'm sure someone saw them. But I didn't think to look. Honestly, that's a good thought. I'll have to check that out.
What's all those boards of education?
Boards of education. Yeah, it's sometimes you can argue it becomes a cultural thing because I'm sure 100 years ago it was much more common and it wasn't specifically because it was said so in the Bible. It's just what people did. But we did a lot of awful things because that's what people did back in the day. And hopefully we can keep moving away from that kind of stuff. But other questions? All right. Do you guys have anything to close, to do, say?
Is that ready to show that?
Yeah, I'm going to wrap up.
Yep.
And I'll hang out for a while if you guys want to chat or drink.
Yeah, generally,
Let's go with that. A little video to show here if you want to hang for Jason's tech expertise. And then, like Phil said, we'll all be hanging out for a while. Feel free to approach him. He's a gentle guy. Feel free. Answer your financial queries and others.
The debate the world has been waiting for. Dr. Bart Ehrman.
I know in the crowds you all run around with, it's commonly thought that Jesus did not exist. Let me tell you, once you get outside of your conclave, there's nobody this is not even an issue for scholars of antiquity.
And Dr. Robert Price.
I like to say that though there may have been a historical Jesus, there isn't one anymore. We don't know if or who or what he was like.
With special guest moderator Matt Dillahunty. Did Jesus exist? Part of the Buzzed Belief debate series presented by Mythicist Milwaukee. Friday, October 21st at historic Turner Hall in downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Buy your tickets today, and you will also get access to the Myth Information Conference 3. Online streaming is also available. Go to mythicistmilwaukee.com for all the details.
All right.
thanks, Robert.
We are on October 21st. Thanks again for joining, everybody. Make yourselves at home. Snacks, conversation.
That's awesome.
What's that?
It's still awesome. It's just going to get awesome.
Well, yeah, you can buy them at the door.
Whoa.
elbow in there. See, that's not fair. You're just smoking a cigarette. There's better than me. That's right. And here's some ab style with boxing bag. Hey!